Hey, it's me, Ashley. I did a small intro yesterday explaining this project, and in the introduction, I said my first review was going to be the Casserole Club, and that's what I'm reviewing today. It was directed by Steve Balderson. He actually made the film. I want to say he made the film last year and went through the indie circuit for a bit, won a couple of awards. Very underrated film, I felt. And it actually got released on DVD this past spring, and I bought it. And overall, I thought it was a good film. It starts off kind of campy, but in the end, it becomes something dark, and it makes you examine relationships and whatnot. Like I said, it was directed by Steve Balderson. He's a great director. He has like a slew of films. If you get a chance, if you have Netflix, he has I want to say he has a couple on there. I want to say one's called Firecracker. I could be wrong, but I know the other one he has on Netflix is called Stuck, and it stars Starina Johnson, who's a great actress. She's one of the actresses in this film, and overall, he's a great director. I feel like he does like a whole campy element, but but then things turn into like a darker kind of situation. I could have worded that better, sorry. And like many directors, he tends to use the same actors in a lot of his movies, and I think that's cool. Like, especially, he doesn't necessarily have to use big names to get his point across. Like, if it's like obvious between that he has a great relationship with his actors, and the art that he makes is just, is beautiful. I feel it is. But let me get on to this recent movie. Like I said, it's named The Casserole Club. It's based in, I want to say, the mid to late 60s. The premise of it revolves around five couples, five housewives. They get together on a weekly basis, and it's insinuated that they're housewives, I guess, because what they all have in common is that they like to cook, and they get together like on a weekly basis, and they make casseroles, and it's a gathering that they do amongst themselves. And one of the housewives, Sugar, who's one of the main characters, who's played by Susan Traylor, amazing actress, suggests that they invite their husbands over to judge the dishes, just get some excitement going. And, a couple of the housewives are a little apprehensive because they don't want to turn their friendly gathering into something petty. But in the end, they cave in. And it's like, it's fun. It's an idea. It's a great idea for all of us to get together. And, excuse me. And so they decide to have to get together over at Sugar's house. She's married to a man named Conrad Bainbridge, who is played by the wonderful Kevin Richardson of the Backstreet Boys, if you don't know. And you may roll your eyes when you know who he is, but this is a good performance from him. He's an amazing actor. He totally stepped, like, if you know of the Backstreet Boys, you know of Kevin, he's the older, mature one. He left a couple of years ago, but he's back with the group now, and he decided to pursue acting. And this is one of the projects he did, and that's what kind of caught my eye on this. And I'll admit, I was a little skeptical of, oh wow, another Backstreet Boy acting, because no offense to the Backstreet Boys, I love them. I've been a fan for 20 years. I've seen two of them act, and it's really atrocious, like, stick to singing. But Kevin, he's done acting before. He said he used to do regional theater before he joined the group, and, of course he did Broadway, for fuck's sake. So he has acting experience, and he approached this role like, if he seemed very comfortable with this role. Like, Conrad is basically a bastard in the movie. Like, the premise around this movie is like I said, it's five couples, and they get together, and like there's like an underlying tone that, like, it's the 60s, everybody's supposed to be, cookie cutter, Barbie and Ken, kind of like we're in our box, we're in our own bubble, like, traditional, oh, we're happy, we're married, but there's like an underlying tone of like unsatisfied needs, like, not everything is like picture perfect. And I guess that's one of the main ideas in the film, especially like it appears like right in the beginning when the couples start to get together at the house. Like, for example, Sugar and Conrad, that's one relationship that's like super strained. There's deep rooted issues between them. Like I said, Conrad is a bastard in the film. He's like the I'm a man's man, basically, a man is supposed to be a man and a woman is supposed to be a woman. And the way he treats Sugar is ridiculous. It's like, kind of like they're together just to be together, but they haven't, you can obviously tell they're not in love with each other. And Sugar appears, I want to say battered wife. He doesn't hit her physically, but he basically talks down to her. You see them together and you just know that they can't stand each other. Like, she bends over backwards to make him happy and he's just like, why am I with you? And so but the cool thing about that is he's just not a bastard to be a bastard. Like, Conrad has his own deep-rooted issues, and if you watch the film, you'll see that for yourself. Like, there's this one scene where he's locked up in a bathroom and it's just like, it's bananas. So anyway, like, amongst the couples, they all try to like one up each other, like by saying, oh, we're happy, but like I said, there's deep rooted issues. I'm sorry, I'm reading off of notes. So they all get together for dinner and there's banter over dinner, like, it's like an adult party. There's actually one scene when there's a funny discussion about curse words, like which word is worse, fag or cunt. And of course the women are like, cunt's a terrible word. And one character, Sterling, who's played by Garrett Swan, he feels the word fag is a horrible word, is worse than cunt, because it questions a man's masculinity and the essence of what a man is. And it's funny that he goes into that deep discussion, and I'm not trying to spoil anything. I should probably have said in the beginning that this contains spoilers, but he's a closeted homosexual, and being in the 60s, that's even today, how it's still one of those subjects that's, homosexuality is frowned upon. And it's funny how he's married to a woman named Kitty, who's played by Starina Johnson. And they appear to be they're the epitome of Barbie and Ken. It's so funny to watch them interact with one another. Like, he tries to appear to be a man's man, and she tries to be like a perfect housewife, and you could tell there's just something not clicking between them. Like, they sleep in separate beds, for fuck's sake. So I thought that was also kind of weird. Like, they have an unsatisfied marriage, but they seem to be okay with, okay, we're just together, like man and wife, So, and also, after like the discussion, another main character, one of the supporting characters, Maribel, who's played by Jennifer Grace, she feels the word cunt is, of course, super offensive. Like, a lot of women feel that word's offensive, but that's a whole nother discussion. And she seems to be one of the most, like, out of the group of women, she seems to be the most timid and rigid, and she has her own issues with her appearance, and she feels she needs to be prim and proper and prissy all the time, and she has her own deep-rooted issues. And I think it's kind of ironic that, I guess what I should say, like, after the dinner, of course, everything turns into, like, a huge, like, things turn kind of adult and whatnot, but I think it's kind of ironic, like, I should probably say this, as the dinner progresses, things turn kind of sexual, and it's funny that Maribel and Conrad end up hooking up. And I think that's kind of weird because they both have their own deep-rooted issues with, they have to be perfect on the, like, outside. They have to be confident. They have to basically, be perfect on the outside, but they have their own issues of self-loathing. And I think that's kind of funny that they both share that same issue and they end up hooking up sexually. I thought that was like a funny coincidence. So anyways, sorry. As the dinner progresses, like I said, drinking ensues. It's an adult party. People poke fun at Maribel because, like I said, she's the most timid and rigid. So they poke fun at her for a bit, but she relaxes because, obviously there's a lot of alcohol being passed around. And things take kind of a strange turn when they all decide to play a game where they turn to, I want to say, the left, and they compliment the person next to them. They have to say something physically that they like about them. And true colors start coming out. Like, you can see tension between certain people because, especially Sugar Bainbridge and one of the other characters, Max, I want to say Beatman, who's played by Michael Mays, another amazing actor. He played one of the villains in the National Treasure movies. He's an amazing actor. He's actually a funny guy too. They it's revealed there's an attraction between them, and of course her Sugar's husband Conrad picks up on it, and things get kind of a little socially awkward between everybody, and night quickly turns into a sex party after that. Like I said, a lot of drinking ensues, so then things turn sexual very quick. I wouldn't say it was like I guess you could say it was like an orgy, but it's not like a porn. I mean, there's some slight nudity, like you see boobs, of course, and but it was I feel like it was it was filmed in a tasteful way, and it's kind of funny that there's an orgy going outside, and then there's a secret affair in another room between, like I said, Sugar and Max. And I also thought it was kind of cool how, even though what Sugar and Max were doing were wrong, Sugar may be the most reserved out of everybody, like in that group, I guess, as far as sex goes, because she met in private with Max, and everybody's more free and open and do whatever they want. So I also thought that was kind of a cool coincidence. And so naturally the next day, like, one of the big things I love about this film, like the cinematography is freaking amazing. Like, it's so beautiful, like the colors and the music and certain historical elements that are linked into the film it was just amazing. Like, he's brilliant. Like, especially the cinematography, like especially the next morning, like after they all wake up and they're all hung over and they realize what they did, like the lighting, especially in that one particular scene, I love how it's all muted and dark and melancholy, and it's like, a metaphor for holy shit, what do we do, hungover kind of thing. And like and of course naturally the couples try to live in denial about everything. Like they try to push it underneath the rug, like Sterling and Kitty the next morning don't even talk about it. Sugar and Conrad, of course, they have a strained marriage, but I feel that pushes them further apart. Like, there's a big elephant in the room, like, okay, we know we did something wrong, and Sugar, of course, is trying to, I guess, I'm not going to say she accepts that her husband's a dick, but she, like I said, she bends over backwards for him, and he, of course, is just like, whatever. And I also thought it was kind of funny how after everything happened that night, the men behave as as acceptable behavior, and the women tend to. Well, I mean, all the men except for one. I want to say Leslie, who's married to Jerome, his wife. Leslie's played by Mark Booker. Jerome is played by Daniela C, who I love. Leslie seems, out of all the men, Leslie seems to be the one that's has the most guilt about everything that happened. But he, out of all, like, everybody in the group, out of all the men in the group, he seems to be the most socially awkward anyway. Like, he seems to have a conscience to me, and I guess you want to say he's, like, really sensitive as well, while the other men in the group are, okay, it happened, whatever, we can have fun with this. And the women acknowledge the fact that, okay, what we did was it's not right, it's kind of screwed up. But a couple of the women tend to overanalyze it more, like, we trampled all over our vows, and, what we did was not normal. And a couple of other women, like Jerome and Sugar and Flo, who's played by Pleasant Graham, great actress. She does a lot of Steve Alderson films. They acknowledge it as, oh, we just drank too much. And, we're friends, we're adults, we just drank too much, what's the big deal? And they try to push it underneath the rug. And I thought that was, like, a funny element, too, that how men and women tend to, this is my personal opinion, men and women tend to handle certain situations different. Men aren't as emotionally attached to things, like, they're not as analytical as women are. As women, we tend to overanalyze things, like I know I do. And I thought that was kind of a funny element. And also, like, out of the couples, like, so they realize that, there's, like, kind of a weird dynamic going on, but it's kind of funny that out of all the couples, two of the people, Flo and Bert, who are played by Pleasant Graham, like I said, and Hunter Bodine, sorry, they tend to be, I feel, are the bad influences of the group. They I'm not gonna say the bad, like I guess the bad seeds. Like, out of people in a group, there's always that one or two people that are like kind of the wild bunch. They like tend to like push people to the dark side, and that's what they kind of did with their friends. They're more open with their relationship. They believe, and I guess because of being the 60s, they believe in free love. But it's kind of funny that out of everyone in that group, those two seem to be the most happy in their marriage. I guess you want to say they have an open marriage, but but it's kind of cool how they balance each other out, because they're not as rigid and not as, not as uptight as their friends, but they seem to be the most happy because they accept who they are. They try not to fit into a bubble or box or like conform like everybody else in the group does. And I thought it was kind of funny how they seem to be the most happy. And it's kind of funny, I guess, secretly wanted these sex parties to continue, so they all get together the following week and they try to have another party. And I thought it was funny how, like I said, when they all get together, it's like another elephant in the room. They try not to acknowledge what happened. It's one particular scene where like Conrad is basically leering at one of the women. Kevin did an amazing job in this film. It's so funny how he's such a, I want to say, bastard, and he's basically leering at one of the women because he saw her naked, and that's all he seems to be thinking about because he's a sex fiend, I guess. And it's funny how they try to push forward and try to, think that what they did was, it will never happen again, but somehow it turns into another drunken, and this particular party, drug induced frenzy where they of course have sex again. And I guess at that point they decide that, okay, it could be a normal thing for us, we're just having fun. And also when that happens, another another section pops into the movie where Sugar and Max start having a private affair. And I think Sugar does that because all she wants is to be loved. She's obviously with a man who doesn't love her, and she feels she's getting attention from Max. So they have their own little secret affair. And so they decide to make it like I don't know how often the affair happened, but it's just, it's insinuated that they're going to have their own thing. And so as the movie progresses, I guess they all decide that this is going to be a normal thing. We're just having fun. And the men, of course, being men, they brag about it to other friends. Like the men play golf. That's a hobby of theirs. So they are bragging about it at the golf course with two other men. And they decide to invite them and their wives over, figuring the more the merrier. And at that point, it seems to be an unwanted element in their group. Like, some people are okay with it. Other people are like, why are they here? This is our own private thing. And at that particular point in the film, that's when things turn for the worse. Like, those couples being introduced is like an unwanted element of, this isn't a great idea. And after that, they have one more party, and then after that, there's a sobering moment. I don't want to spoil it too much, but things turn very dark, and I guess everybody snaps out of their selfishness because I guess you can say, like, the couples come off being kind of selfish. What they're doing is, I'm not going to, frown upon open marriage. Like, that's what some people do. Me, personally, I don't do it. I try to be monogamous. But, it basically knocks people on knocks those couples on their ass and makes them look at what they're doing is kind of wrong. And I wouldn't say, a lesson was actually learned amongst them, but they realized things will never be the same again. And I also thought a cool thing about this movie, what Steve Balderson did, he tried to add a couple of historical events within the movie that tied together, that showing that, I want to say this movie was 1969. I could be wrong. I'm not a historian, but that was the beginning of the end of Innocence. He added 3 events. He did the death of Judy Garland. He did the death of Sharon Tate, and then he also did the moon landing. And I wouldn't say the moon landing was the end of Innocence, but it's just showing that, oh wow, a new era of things are happening. And I thought it was kind of cool how he superimposed all three of those events in the movie just as a metaphor of what was going on amongst them. And I thought it was kind of cool. I guess overall, and then after the sobering moment at the party, things come to a head. Some couples split, some couples remain in denial, but their dynamic as amongst like them being friends is never the same again. And I think it's kind of cool how things ended. I don't want to give too much away. I already spoiled probably a little bit of it, but overall, it's a great film. The director, like I said, Steve Balderson, is amazing. If you have a chance, look him up. I love how he captured that era. It's kind of like, I don't want to say Mad Men-esque, but like it's just overall like a beautifully filmed movie. So if you have a chance to watch it, please do. You could probably catch it. There's talks about it trying to be added to Netflix. I bought it on Amazon for like $20. You could probably go to like other DVD sites and get it for cheaper than that. I think I got it for like $20. I pre-ordered it. And I guess in this film too, I've pointed out two breakout performances. One was by Kevin Richardson, of course. I'm not just trying to, put him on a pedestal because I've been in love with the man since I was like 11 years old, but he is a great actor in this movie. Like I said before, he left the Backstreet Boys a couple of years ago to pursue acting, and I feel if he were to go back into it, he could use this film as a platform for him to pursue it. Because there's a particular scene towards the end of the movie, like I guess I want to say a monologue, where he goes into like a really screwed up dark place, and if he puts that like on a reel, he could probably get like work, like amazing work. And another breakout performance is by Daniela C, who plays Jerome in the movie. If you don't know who that is, she played in The L Word. She's an amazing actress. I love her. Like, I think she's beautiful. And I love the fact that some people may say Flo was like kind of the outcast, but I feel that Jerome was kind of like the outcast in a group. You know how like there's always a group of friends, there's one that's like always kind of different. And I feel she was that person because the rest of the women are more girly, more feminine, more prim and proper. And she was beautiful, but she had more of a masculine energy. She wore the pantsuits. She was more ballsy, more of a spitfire, but she also had a more vulnerable side. Like you could tell that, even though she was more of the masculine one in her marriage, you could tell that she loved her husband. I'm not saying the other women in the film didn't love their husband, but you could tell that she balanced her marriage out with her husband Leslie. And I thought she's an amazing actress anyway, but I thought her performance in this movie was great. And overall, like I said, it's a great film. If you have a chance, look it up. Look up Steve Balderson. I'm gonna actually try to there's an interview that I came across last year where Kevin Richardson and Michael Mays were promoting the film with this guy out in LA called I want to say his name is Tony Sweet, and I'm actually going to see if I could upload the interview. And I thought it was an interesting interview. They talk about the film, they talk about their careers, and Kevin goes into why he left the group, and I thought it was pretty interesting, so I'm going to try to add that as well. And so that's my first review. It's kind of long. I know it's about 20 some minutes, but hopefully I'll get better with these. I'm going to try to be less short and less long-winded, but I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.